Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started.
What's up?
Hey, lady.
You doing good?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good, but I'm going to pick on you here.
Uh-oh. I'm ready. Bring it.
Well, I loved the solo episode you did not too long back about the rumor mill.
Yes.
However, I don't feel like you brought the drama.
What? Me? Not bringing drama? Imagine that.
Yeah. I guess this is where you tried to give me that shirt that somebody stole from
Somebody
our AAPD
stole.
booth, by the way.
Which said drama queen.
Or the original drama queen.
The
or
original drama queen.
Something like that you got for me.
And somebody
swiped it. Yeah.
Right under our noses.
Right under our noses. And so I felt like, I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to be whatever. But.
Dramatic.
Yeah, or mean. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm just saying, like, when I listened to it, I was like, this is all fine and good. However, I just don't see myself following this advice. And what I mean by that is because it was kind of global. Like, if your team members are rumor milling and you pull one aside and then you talk to the other one, and I know that's not the advice you gave, but whatever, if you could kind of go back to some of it. But my take-home message was, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm going to try to avoid I know it's what I should do. It was great advice. It was the right advice. But am I going to do it? Most likely not. I'm probably going to do what I tend to do and bury my head and wait for a bomb to go off. And then I will deal with it. And so I think what I would have found helpful is if you had specific examples so that I could be like, you're right. In that case, I would have stayed in my office, but you're right. I think I could have stepped out and caught it at this point. And then I see your advice is obviously right, but how can it be easier for me to follow? I guess is what I was hoping to, like, color in some of what do you mean by, and I'm forgetting that some of the advice you gave anyway. So if you could, it might make you kind of I know you gave that advice based off of specific examples.
Yeah.
And so that's why it was on your heart and your mind, and that's why you wanted to talk about that. So if you can remember what some of those things were that made you go, you know what, this happened in Dr. Kuba's office, and I'm going to say we need to stop the rumor mill. Share what happened in that office, if you could.
Yeah.
Do you mind?
No, I think the examples are always super helpful. So the one that
But they're dramatic.
And they're drama.
Dramatic. They add the meat.
They fit the title. So let's throw it in here.
You had the managing dental part down to a T.
Yeah. Just missed the drama. Can we come back? So go back. Retake.
Just part two for those of us that aren't that bright, that can connect the dots and are just going to go, oh, that's great advice, and I'm doing none of it because I have to think about how I would apply that advice. So
we'll can you dummy it down? Bonus scenes? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The drama tidbits to make it more obvious to those of us that are like, oh, that's how you apply that.
Yes. Well, and so this is where, as I share the examples, you'll have to think about it from your perspective, because I think I am, first of all, by nature, more confrontational. I don't mind it. To me, it's like the only way to get resolution is to be direct and to confront things. I was talking about this with my dad recently, and he's a very conflict-adverse person. And somehow, he has raised two daughters that are like, tag me in, boss, like, I'll do it, and we don't mind it. We approach it very, very differently. But I don't mind the conflict because I feel like conflict is an opportunity to grow or to be better or to bring something to the surface that's brewing down below. I'm like, it is not helpful down below, so let's drag that sucker up. And so I think I'm naturally that way, and then I'm in a consulting role where these problems are being brought to my attention, and I'm like, let's hammer it out. Like, let's do this. And so I do think as I share these examples, you may have a perspective of going, okay, me as the practice owner, how might I deal with that?
Which is exactly what I'm hoping for, because just based off of what you just said, first of all, I come from a family and kind of a culture. It's all about optics, and you just bury that, and dirty laundry's not to be shared, which clearly, like, I share all my dirty laundry on this podcast, so clearly I'm black sheep by the family. But when you say you view conflict and getting it to the surface as an opportunity, I agree. It's an opportunity to have one more problem and one more headache for me to blow this up the wrong way and make it a lot worse.
Yeah.
So even for the docs that don't mind conflict and are like, yep, let's be direct and nip it in the bud, I think my guess is the challenge that they're also going to face is, but I'm also trying to do some goddamn dentistry. I don't have time for this. So even if I don't mind addressing it, when would you like me to do that? I've got to call these 2 patients back. We've got this billing issue. The compressor's down. I got to fight with the sales rep. Like, when would you like me to handle this? You know what? That is back burner stuff. Those ladies, those gents, whoever's fighting back there are going to have to figure it out themselves. I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I kind of was, whichever way, whether you're okay dealing with conflict or you're just like, I can't handle this, or I'm going to make it worse, or I don't want to deal, whatever it may be. We've got other things to do that are legitimate things to do. And as we're trying to prioritize what we're going to do, this is going to fall to this is not productive. You know what I mean? Like, as far as you're going cha-ching, it's more productive for me to get on the phone with the sales rep to try to get my compressor fixed. It's more productive for me to drill and fill. Trying to deal with Mary and Susie clawing at each other is really not productive.
Yeah.
And of course it is, because if they're not getting along, then they're not getting their jobs done effectively and blah, blah, blah. But as the owner, that's my viewpoint going, but still in the order of my perceived importance, that's going to be the last on my plate to deal with. For those of us that are Bethany clients, we're like, well, we'll just wait for Bethany to come in and deal with it, right? So, or if you've got a manager, you're like, go ahead, manager, deal with it. So I think that's why I was kind of going for those that don't have a Bethany or don't have a manager, or your manager's busy. She doesn't have time to deal with these 2 little squawking children either.
Well, and sometimes it can't be properly managed by the manager. They're trying. The attempt is there. So I'll give you the first example that I think will be helpful in this scenario. So this particular team we're desperately trying to kind of rework this culture. There are some times that it's just infuriating to me that I'll step into a team that could be so dang good, but they're so busy complaining about each other that they're just distracted. They're and the poor manager is just constantly putting out fires, right? So,
which a manager should be able to be pulling reports, going over marketing strategy, maybe looking at the overhead and saying, how can we reduce this? Like, the manager has other things that would behoove the entire practice to get more patients in the door and more procedures. And if she's constantly having to put out fires and she said this and he said that, and make documentation for HR purposes and whatever, like, so if you're a troublemaker and you're distracting your manager, or dare I say your doctor, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yep. And that is where it becomes unproductive. You know, we talk about that whole productive category, and you're right. It is more productive for the doctor to be involved in other things, like dentistry. But there may come a point where the drama and the rumors and the gossip and all of that is so distracting to your team that you are carrying a much heavier clinical weight because you've got distracted employees all around you.
Well, and I didn't even realize, like, I talk about this in one of the digest articles I wrote that's going to be coming out here soon, but that to me was one of those things where I happened to be on vacation and I thought we had a plan in place, and then my team squawking like children. I just was not expecting it. And I'm like, no wonder we've made such little progress in these couple of areas. It's because y'all have decided to go into child mode. And can I not take a damn vacation? Like, focus. So it's my take-home message now for now until the rest of the year. I'm like, I just got to make sure my face is present, which is annoying AF, right? It's annoying as beep, but it is what it is. Anyway, so getting back to...
Yeah, so I think in this particular scenario, we've just got a team that we can't seem to kind of get this gossip rumor mill out of the way. So the way that the manager really has been trying to deal with it is each little issue that pops up. A team member walks into her office and is upset at another team member for some lack of performance. She keeps making this same mistake. I'm so annoyed, right? So then manager's pulling in that team member. Hey, performance, let's talk about this. You need to make these corrections. Go do it. Next thing she knows, she turns around, she's got another one in there. So she is trying to stay on top of it, but is wearing herself out in the process, to be expected. But what popped up, or what blew up, was, so she's feeling exhausted by all these separate people popping in, and she's going to have and correct these issues. But she was away. A child was having surgery. She was not at the office. And there's, thankfully, there's cameras all over the office, but the one with audio are on the outside of the office, and she's home with her child who's recovering from surgery, and she's like, what is going on in the back, in the back parking
So she has
lot?
an app on her phone, or what? Okay.
Yeah, she has access to all the office cameras and everything, so she's able to keep track of things while she's away, and so she keeps getting all these pings of all this action in the back parking lot. She's like, what is happening, right? Well, there's a group of team members that are back there chatting it up, She's like, what is going on?
Sorry, during patient care hours or after? Or?
Yeah, during patient care.
Oh, good grief. Good grief.
Right. Which is anyway, talk about non-productive. See, this is what I'm talking about. It may not seem like a big deal, but we're pulling people away from patient care to come back and have conversation in the back parking lot. That is lack of productivity. That's a problem. So, office manager's like, oh gosh, what's going on? So she's, of course, watching cameras to make sure it's nothing that she needs to deal with. And all it is one big gripe session. Talking badly about other team members. Oh, you think that's bad? Well, this team member did this, and this team member did this, and we got a mean girl club, and not a productive conversation. So these individuals are off the floor.
May I ask, are they clocked in, by the way?
Yeah. Yeah. So
my hair is starting to get on fire.
Yeah, so this is,
you see the smoke coming out of my ears.
When the cat's away, the mice will play, right? So this is a typical scenario where that manager should be able to be home with her kid recovering from surgery and not have to worry about things. But instead, she's having to worry about it, right? And so not only is this a problem because we've got distracted employees, we've got people off the floor wasting clocked in time, but also it's not productive. It's not a good conversation. Why is it helpful to go back there and bellyache and moan
Stir
about
the pot.
Stir the pot. Members?
Yeah.
And even throw in that conversation, even throw the manager on under the bus. Well, you know she's not going to deal with it. Which I see the manager, I'm like, all she's doing is dealing with y'all's crap all day long. So that's unfair, So this is the type of rumor mill that I'm talking about, where, yes, it seems like, this is child's play, just let it go. Well, no, because let it go says it's okay for you to do that again, because there was no reprimand for that. There was no action taken. You were just able to get away with that. No, we got to have boundaries drawn and set expectations that is unacceptable. So there's one example.
So what was the advice, if you can?
Yeah. Tie
the advice into this. What should we have done? Suppose it's me, and either from the perspective of I'm the manager or I'm the doctor who's my manager's calling me saying, hey, there's a gaggle of girls outside.
So tying this back to the episode, one of my main points was you can't let this go. It is easy enough, especially let's say the manager wasn't the one that was catching all of this. Let's say there wasn't a manager and you've just got an owner doc, but you become aware that this kind of content is happening. I think it's very, very risky to sit on this and not do anything.
Because I'll tell you, my thought would be, like, if this came up to me, I think I would only be focused on the what the hell are you doing on my clock, going out there and having this bitch session. Like, that is inappropriate. What if patients could hear you? What if other people who work at surrounding businesses hear you? This is not a good look. Like, what is wrong with you people? I need a level of professionalism, and I'm clocking you guys out for, like an hour, whether you were out there for 5 minutes just for the fact of you thinking it's okay. And I probably would have left it at that, which is still not helpful. That would have been me just stewing on that part of it. So that's where I'm like, okay, now that you've colored that in for me, so what other advice? You're saying, I set the boundary, this can't happen again. Mm-hmm. But I feel like my only color for that would have been like, do not steal time from me. And now you are bitching about everything under the sun. Like, there are tasks to do. Do people just want to go home? So I guess to make sure I get more bang out of my boom on them, what should I be, I wouldn't have thought about, like, you're right, they're going to do this again. I would assume they're not going to do it again just because of the clock out time, but they probably could do it again, but clock out and do it at lunchtime. Mm-hmm. And then would I not care as much? And right. I could see myself going, all right, you gaggle of girls, this is going to come back at you because somebody else will be talking about you the next time there's a group out there. And I would let it go. I don't think I would address it if it hadn't been for the time clock thing.
Well, I think what's interesting, though, is you may not realize this, but you actually put a squash on this stuff a lot in your practice. So it may not be, you may not be overtly catching, like, quote-unquote rumor or gossip. But when things are brought to you as frustrations, or I just don't know why this person's still on the team, blah, 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 you are shutting it down in a lot of ways. And you're trying to repaint a perspective, which I think is really, so not only you need to address this stuff, but also when it comes to your attention, you're going, yes, that's one way of looking at it. And you can choose to look at all the negatives with that person or that situation or whatever. Or, let me tell you my perspective. And you're bringing it back around to, here's an alternate perspective to look at. You need to change your perspective. You need to see this differently. Because we talk culture all the time, and this is a culture issue. If it becomes the norm and acceptable, sure, you can talk negatively about your team members as long as it's not on the clock. You can do whatever you want with that. Well, now we have turned loose a culture that is ultimately, in the long run, very damaging. And we will have a hard time retaining employees. And that's where I see it being the most impactful to production. I've seen teams lose good people because of nothing else than the rumor mill. Or if that person doesn't leave, I see certain cultures crush an individual that I see potential in, but they can't move past the things that are coming back to their ear. And it just crushes that confidence. And while I could see them getting to a level 10, they may make it to a level 4 because they just have a team that doesn't believe in them. And so, to me, by stopping the actual negative gossip or reframing it, we're actually trying to reset a culture that sees things more positively.
So, I think a couple of thoughts on that. Number one, I think what helps me do that is knowing my team members. So, again, knowing personalities and things like that. That's why we team build. That's why we, because I want to make sure if I am going to reframe and defend somebody, they have earned that, at least in my eyes. And it's like, if I could even defend that person, then that's a problem. Then I'm like, why is this person on the team? Yeah. But at this point, if you're telling me that this person's either, basically what you're alluding to is they are not bright enough to do this job, or they're they're lazy or whatever. And to me, I'm like, but if I thought they were truly lazy, would I have them on my team? No. So I do need to do my due diligence to make sure that this person isn't lazy.
Right.
Or that, to me, usually a ceiling issue, I'm like, okay, we all have a ceiling in something. How could I repurpose and tweak this so that this person who is not successful at this role or this task is not continually being stuck in the task.
Right.
Or the person that's complaining, are you just picking on them? But I got to know the personalities of the people who come to me too, because there are some people that I'm like, you have never come to me with anything, and if you're coming to me with this, that speaks volumes, versus somebody else who I'm like, you again, now who are you having a problem with? You quit picking on her, I talked you off the ledge on her, and you're picking on this one, which I think is what happened in the summer because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so there was nobody to squash these things. But I would say, like, maybe I'm not, I will tell you the good and the bad of what I do. I think, number one, the good comes from me. The goal for me is going, I'm trying to get somewhere. And you're getting in the way of that with your childishness. So, for example, we are trying to, we just got this new, Weave can now do this function for us, but that's going to mean we've got to change this verbiage and we've got to add that paperwork, and instead of this link, we've got to send that link, and go make it happen. And then you come back to me, well, Amy was supposed to find out about the link, but she didn't. But then now Susie put in the link, but she didn't put it on the paperwork too. She only put it here, but not on her website. And what is the solution? What are we doing? Because I don't have time for this.
Right.
Like, you vented it. Have you asked? Let me ask Susie. Okay? Yeah, I'll look into it. I'll get back with you. Susie, why didn't you put it on both? Well, I tried to, but I tried to email your husband and he hasn't emailed me back. Okay, so complainer, she's trying.
Yeah.
Or complainer, she didn't know. She's never done this before. She didn't realize it had to be on the website too. Yeah. Is it that big a deal to just tell her going forward? Or if this is the fourth time she's missed it, like this is the fourth update we've done, and she's still like, that's a different issue. But that's not what we're talking about here. If that's the case, we can't seem to get it by time 3, then this person's not going to be in charge of that.
Right.
Then we already know going forward. So, like, to me, it's a problem-solving thing.
Yeah.
And I'll listen to you bellyache for a minute, then I need to do my due diligence and going, okay, but I know Sandy isn't lazy. There's a reason why she's not been able to do this.
Right.
So I think that's where, for me, the good thing is, I guess I'm not even viewing it as squashing a rumor mill. I'm viewing it as like, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm paying for this new feature. You people are wasting my money. Like, let's go and get this underway. I don't have time for she did, you did, I did. Like, one of you people needs to fix this. And so how are we fixing it? What is your roadblock? Let's get to that. Is it all emotion or is it logistics as well? I think I will admit the one thing that I do very poorly, and I've had to catch myself, and I'm constantly, I think sometimes when I have these talks about reframing, I do inadvertently, I think I'll try to give examples. You know me, big on examples. That's why we have this podcast. But if somebody's complaining about Amy, I'm like, I know, but do you remember when Jenny did that too?
Yeah.
And so Jenny, this is not Jenny. Jenny did that. Remember, we had to pull her off of this. But you like Jenny, so you were very patient with Jenny. How is Jenny's situation different than Amy? So please, like, you vented it now, but I'm going to ask you to give Amy the same grace as you gave Jenny. Inadvertently, now I've been talking about Jenny behind the back.
Yeah.
And I feel like I tend to do that. And then afterwards, I'm like, shit, I'm the one stirring the pot myself in this conversation. My goal was not to stir the pot. My goal was to say none of us are above this. And you showed grace in this situation, or this is how we pivoted from this situation. But then by me giving examples, I'm like,
Then those examples now are negative talk. Yeah. But wasn't the intent, right. But it could be misconstrued as that with the right person. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and to me, you're right. These conversations are exhausting. Even if it's coming from a well-meaning team member that's like, so-and-so did this wrong and this wrong and this wrong, or like my manager in the example that at the beginning, I think team members are wanting things to be done right and to be done well. But there's an uplifting way to do that, and there is a deconstructive way to do that. And it's the deconstructive way that is very it's got this negative ripple effect.
Very destructive.
It's destructive. It is. And I have seen, I can't tell you how many times I've seen practices lose good team members because they're just like, I'm too old for that. I'm sorry. I love the doctor, love the patients, but honestly, I just can't put up with all of this negative chatter. I empathize with that, and I understand that. And so I think what we end up doing over the long haul is then we end up attracting a bunch of team members that have either thick skin that can take it, or we have a bunch of team members that buy into it and they're part of it as well.
And then there's your culture ship. Your culture was fine, but then now Sally was like, I can't do this. This is juvenile. I'm not dealing with this. Sally leaves. You hire the next young thing, and now she's walking into a culture where she's like, oh, are they talking about me in the parking lot? And either she leaves or she gets to go and, okay, well, hey, if that's your faction, this is my faction. I'm going to talk about these people. So you now set the tone of a culture that it's like, this is okay.
Yeah.
And that is very, it's a long process to undo. It's a painful process. How many more people are you going to lose? Like, it is counterproductive.
Yeah, and I would say one of the things, so obviously one of my pieces of advice was you can't ignore it, and I still stand by that. But I would say also you've got to be willing to, as awful as it sounds, look directly at that person and go, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And that's super uncomfortable. And we're like, but how is that helpful? Well, it's helpful because you're telling that person, I disagree with you right now. And I don't like the way that you're handling this. And I view you right now as the problem.
So I think sometimes where I get a little bit like, because then that person not going to turn on me, and if they're a valuable person on my team in other ways, even though they are clearly, detracting from their positives, but am I going to spark something else now? I think that's where for me I'm like, I don't want to have that conversation. I think I would word it more as like, okay, so Amy's the problem. Amy's bugging you with this. What do you think your role is?
Yeah.
And so how are we, and I'll talk to Amy, but what do you think Amy would say your role is? Because Amy doesn't think she's doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
So clearly she is doing some things wrong, and I will talk to her about that, but I'm going to ask her the same. What do you think your contribution is to this, or what do you think is your solution moving forward?
Yeah.
And then if her solution is, well, Amy's got to be fired, we talked about that in a previous episode, like, okay, well, that's not happening. So what is a reasonable way to move forward here?
And I do think, and you recently had a conversation similar to what I'm about to say here, I think the reason I suggested that the practice owner may have to get involved in some situations is because the practice owner can look at that person that's been running their mouth negatively and go, first of all, that's really hurtful to me. I think I deserve more respect than that. And what I want from you going forward, the next time you're thinking something negative or making negative assumptions, or you've got questions that you just don't understand why I'm doing certain things a certain way or why Amy's doing things a certain way, come to me. Don't run your mouth talking about speculating to all the coworkers. You come to me and ask me. And that's my expectation of you going forward. And by the way, I'm disappointed that you didn't do that. That instead you chose to turn and talk to other people about it negatively. That had a negative ripple effect. And I'm disappointed that that was your go-to. The practice owner can do that in a way that an office manager cannot do. She can try, but it does not bear the same weight. That would be like, in my family, my oldest daughter, Cosette, telling our younger one, hey, I'm really disappointed that you called me stupid. Okay, the little one's going to be like, all right, yeah, sorry, I guess. When mama comes in and there's consequences and I say, I expect for you to never call your sister stupid again, that bears a different weight. And I think it's going to shut down rumors or gossip or culture issues much faster if the practice owner can look at somebody and say, I need you to change this. And I think we have a better chance of that person actually changing from that.
Yeah, but you've got to know your team. You've got to know, I think the conversation that I know you're talking about in my office, I actually opted to I took that person to lunch, and yeah, it did kind of chap my hide some that I'm paying for your lunch and to have this conversation. But knowing her, I knew, like, I didn't want to just have it in the consult room. Like, I thought it would be better to get off the premises, sit and have a chat, and then kind of really hear her out and kind of go, okay, well, what are your concerns? And once I realized all her concerns were nonsense and made up rumor mill stuff, that's when I was like, okay, well, this is really disappointing to me because I expected better. And if you guys are doing it under the guise of saying you've got my back, how does it help my back that I've got all of these headaches now? Because y'all chose to, instead of asking questions or think about it strategically, it was easier just to point fingers and, like you said, speculate and assume
negatively.
And I feel like I didn't deserve that. And I've, unless you are an owner that you do make shady, stupid decisions.
Unless you've earned that.
Unless you've earned that. But I'm like, I know I have not earned this. And so please don't, I'm really disappointed that I have done everything I can to always show that I've got y'all's back.
Yeah.
And you're not able to give me one example of where I haven't. And she would have told me. And that again goes back to knowing your personalities and having relationships with your team members.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other rumor mill?
The other example that was recent was a newer team member that is an uber phlegmatic team member, but very knowledgeable, just very quiet and unassuming, and slower. Phlegmatic is slower to onboard, slower to train. They will get it, but it takes them a minute, and we've got to give them that space and that ability to grow. And on this particular team, lots of strong movers and shakers and like, let's go team. And they're basically very quickly became the assumption this girl's not going to cut it. Which can happen on a very strong mover shaker team, and you bring on a phlegmatic.
I think that's happened every time we've brought on a phlegmatic. Every time. Like, I'm like, this person's going to get run over.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be like on the highway, and when you're, so me knowing that and having gone through that, we did have to have multiple conversations about, that's okay, give this person some space, and, being aware of it and anticipating it and kind of having those conversations, like going, okay, for this person, this is going to be our, normally we might do a 3-week, but this person hasn't ever worked in pediatrics before, and they're a phlegmatic, they're going to take a little bit longer. They're not going to communicate as much, so we need to be the ones to communicate and say, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And kind of put those steps in place.
Pursue them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened in this particular situation is there was a couple strong team members that made that assumption pretty quickly, and then they would then go and talk to all of the other team members, both business and clinically, so it's kind of office-wide. So then when I'm there in that practice, I'm checking in with every team member, and I sat in with the newer phlegmatic team member, and she just very honestly told me, like, I know that so-and-so, there's another team member, she was like, I know that so-and-so sees my value, and I know she's got my back. But ultimately, if she were to ever go, I'd be on an island by myself. And so if she goes, I go. It's basically what she told me. But it's all because rumors get back to this lady. And she knew that essentially because of these two key people that are movers and shakers and like, go girl, like get with it, because they didn't like her. They then started talking negatively about her all the time.
Or making comments like, because I know we've gone through it in our office with, yeah, don't put that patient with her, she's too slow, and then we'll end up having to see all the rest of these patients, or make sure she doesn't, get involved in this. So it's like, even when they're not even realizing, it's not like they're going out to the parking lot to talk about her, but little comments like in huddle, or when you're making route slips, or when you're, where is she? Yeah, of course, we're all having to do these. She's taken so long on that patient, the rest of us have to, and just grumbling. And so those little things, like, even if it was like operative assistants that aren't really interacting with this team member, now they're all going, oh, you got a slow one over there? You got oh, that's too bad. That sucks for y'all. Or are you going to let Kuba know she needs to go?
Yeah.
What's Kuba going to do to make sure she pulled her weight? And it's like, for the love of God.
I know. Well, and then think of all the time that goes into bringing this person onto the team, all the other people that you've looked at. This person has risen to the top, and now you're at risk of all that time and energy, even attracting them to the practice. It's at risk now because there's been this group think that's been developed that she's not the right fit for the practice. And unbeknownst to the owner.
Yeah.
So the owner's like, it's hunky-dory, it's fine. And then this is where they get slapped with, why did this person resign? And those sweet phlegmatics aren't going to throw anybody under the bus on the way out. They won't. The owners never know that this was an issue with the whole team ganging up on this person. I hate it because it's one of those situations where in most situations the practice owner is unaware. And now they're back to being short-staffed. They're back to having to, put the job post back up. They're back to having to onboard and train somebody, which is so expensive.
All of that extra drama, too, now, because now you're a shorthand. So even though it was these two that were, ganging up against that one, now they're ganging up against each other because now they're back to, again, oh, wait, you didn't this, and I got stuck doing this, and you didn't. I'm like, if you'd just given it a damn minute, she would have helped you. You just needed to give her a minute, and she could have been super helpful here. And y'all chased her away, and now you're back to bitching at each other for not. So in both cases, because I don't think I wanted to ask you, and then I distracted myself for this case, and then also the first case with the managers like watching these women. What happened? How did they resolve that?
Yeah. So in the group one, we'll start with that one. That was the first example, the parking lot conversation. The manager had to call in a family member to come in because she's like, I can't call and talk to them about this. I gotta leave my kid.
So she didn't bug the doc with it.
No.
Bless her.
I know. And showed up and squashed it.
How?
Very aggressively.
What did she?
She pulled each of them individually in and said, this is absolutely unacceptable. I can't put up with this anymore. Y'all complain about this being like an awful environment. This is such a stressful place to work. You're causing it. And it's unacceptable. This cannot happen again. I better never see, conversations or hear of conversations like this. So she individually squashed it with each person very firmly. Because, keep in mind, this poor woman has been putting out all these fires. Like, she's tired. She just had to leave her kid, who is recovering from surgery, to run up to the office and
handle these children.
Oh, so
let me ask you this. Because in my office, like, what would I do? Say she didn't have a family member and she couldn't come up, and so she's like, "Hey doc, these girls are outside. What would you advise one of us to do?"
So if it were a doc in this situation that became aware of it, or let's say you're walking out to grab something out of your car and you're like, "What's going on here?" Then to me, I would still immediately address it individually and pull each person. Hey, what's going on? Why were y'all chatting out in the parking lot? It's not, patient care comes first. I expect that to never happen again, and we'll almost like just squash it that day. Stop it. This conversation needs to go nowhere else. And then if it is truly a culture problem, which in this case is 4 employees in the back parking, this is a culture problem. It's not a singular person problem. Then we need to deal with the culture separately. But that day it needs to be squashed. So if it wasn't the manager, the practice owner stepping in and going, either individually, or if he or she walked up on the conversation to go, what's going on here? What are we talking about? It's very hard to come up with a lie quickly. Oh, just talking about lunch while we've got patients on the floor. Get back in the building, So if nothing else, just stop the conversation. I see you. For the practice owner, the practice manager knew office manager knew the content of the conversation, so she was able to address it very directly. Most of the time, the practice owner is unaware of that. But stop the conversation and then address the culture problem separately. Yeah.
And I think that's important to say there, because I could just see myself nipping it in the bud and again sticking to just, are y'all have y'all lost your minds? Like, you're on the clock. Don't let this happen again. But I think what I would have to tell myself is, don't just leave it at that.
Yep.
You need to circle back around. And maybe then the next day I'm pulling in those people going, okay, tell me what was...
Yes.
And frankly, I wouldn't even just talk to those 4. I would talk to the entire team.
To the whole
Do y'all know
team.
what happened? What's going on? And see what kind of data gathering you get, and then go from there.
Yep.
You have to.
You have to. You have to. And it's no fun, and you hate to waste time on it, but I promise you it will save you time and money and productivity in the long run. So she squashed it that day, and we're in the process of getting a culture meeting on the schedule. Now, in conjunction to her squashing it, I also had a separate conversation with kind of the instigator of it all. So she squashed it, and I came behind and had a direct conversation with kind of the epicenter of that particular scenario. And it was very much just trying to paint a different perspective for her.
TBD if it's going to work.
TBD, because we haven't had the culture reset. And by the way, in that culture reset meeting, there will be direct consequences, because I'm tired of playing. We've talked about it till we're blue in the face and y'all aren't listening. So there will be direct consequences where if this office manager is being pulled into drama, bonuses go away that month. Everybody just gone. We're not gonna pay bonuses out to people that are causing headaches and are talking negatively about one another. So either this is fixed or you start losing bonus, and you can be sent home without pay for being caught in direct gossip conversation.
So I know a lot of us are going to sit there and go, but what if this person leaves? What if people leave? And I know your answer is going to be, but don't you want them gone? But then we're back to, we're starting over, which I guess your point is you're going to be starting over anyway, because you're going to burn out on somebody who
you're going to either retain the bad apple, or you're going to retain ones that can be coached and get a better apple in there.
Yeah.
What I don't want happening, and what I see happening so often, is we just retain the bad ones, and then we just keep adding bad ones.
Well, and you're going to end up adding a bad one because they're not bad until they get into that culture.
Yes.
And then they turn bad.
Yes. Yeah, so if you're going to lose them one way or the other, retain the ones that are coachable and willing to be positive, and let the bad apples go. Now, sometimes if they're all coachable enough, and if there's good boundaries and all of that, then they'll right their ship and they'll get back in line, but you have to keep a close eye on it.
Which is where I am now.
Yeah.
Nobody's left since my very direct conversations with several of them, but I have been keeping a very close eye.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. It is. But it's part of the game, unfortunately, that we have to play to make sure that we're running a successful practice.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.